So you may share when ready. All righty.
Don't forget to turn the videos off.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yep,
Okay, can you see me?
I can. Yes, sir.
Okay, now this is a different job than the one that we were working on yesterday. And it's interesting, this is the only job where my inverses are in azimuths.
Okay.
The other job that we're working on yesterday is still in, if I inverse, it's still in bearings.
Huh. Somehow
And
we said something weird.
so, but in any case, I got comments back from the county yesterday, and I had trouble addressing one of them, and that is that this is my legend as I'm showing it,
Uh-huh.
and they want me to include the floodway and the floodplain in
Okay.
it.
All right.
And I did that, but when I brought it back in, or I tried to do it, they were huge. They took up the whole drawing.
Okay.
And the way I did it was I went to annotate, draw legend,
Mm-hmm.
and I opened this file. And then I hit add from drawing.
Okay.
And I picked those two things.
Mm-hmm.
And I did I think I did a save and then a draw. And it came in, but they were enormous.
Okay. Um, so if we say those, let's see, what is, did you, go to
Well, it
request.
doesn't look like they're there, does it?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what it's called. It looks like you've got these hatches. You got a solid, and that looks like, that's what this hatch is, that solid gray, that's a solid. And then you got this dash, which is also a hatch.
Oh, I see.
But it's this ANSI 31. So, and you've got it up here as FEMA
Okay.
affected floodplain. And down here, you've got this one called GAP, but
But it's not really a gap. So I'd have to edit that to call it a floodway. Is that what I'd do?
yeah, and I would call that one your,
So I go in and hit edit and then call it a
yeah,
floodway.
it
Then a
becomes,
lot of these I can turn off, I guess.
yeah, that's right. We're only going to turn on the ones we need. So, so we could do it that way, and then you could call that one, like you said, you would edit that, and you would call that, instead of it's down here in the description, that would be your FEMA 100-year floodplain. Is that
No,
right?
it's a floodway.
A floodway.
But the floodplain is the dashed one.
I got it. Okay. And
No, actually, I think that's reversed, actually.
yeah, that's what I thought.
The floodway would be higher than the floodplain would be higher than the floodway.
All right. So then we would say that. Now we've got that also as, I know it had a scale, but we don't need to worry about the scale on that one. This one has a scale here of 200. And that was what that one is. So anyway, we've got that one there. So I'm just going to say save for now, and it saved that file. And I'm going to exit for just a second. Let's go back to the plat. Now you're only going to have it on the one sheet though, right?
Yeah, I guess that I guess I'll just take it off of what do you think it's better on the cover sheet or better on the plat?
Well, I don't know. It did.
I like to,
I kind of like it on the plat because it's right next to where the drawing is. You
yeah,
know, you
I agree. I agree.
see it. So,
Maybe I'll just leave it on both of them since I already have it that way and since I've already submitted the plat once.
yeah. And then this one, so you could, since that is going to have the property. Now, this is already at a 20 scale. You don't really need to make that any bigger than it is. I was gonna
Well,
say,
that, I don't really need it on that one. That's the topo drawing. I need it on the merger plat.
right, right, right. I was gonna say you could get rid of this and actually make this even bigger if you, but we don't need to make this scaled any bigger. This is sufficient like it is.
Right,
So you could do it like a 1 inch equals. If this were 1 inch equal 50, you could be able to get rid of this and stretch this viewport over and make it 1 inch equals 20, but it's already 1 inch equals 20. So I think,
right.
you know, it's in good shape there. So, all right. So back here on, here on the merger plat. So we've got, um, you know, we've got one that's not showing.
Well, and it doesn't exist in this drawing.
Okay. So we
And
would,
the gates, I mean, a lot of this stuff isn't showing.
oh, I see. Okay. So you would take those out and scoot them up. Now they are in paper space. All of this stuff is in paper space. Okay.
Right,
So you can plot that legend in either place, either in paper space or in the model space, and then do a viewport and just like we did over here, and then zoom around that legend. So that's one way to have done it, is with that command where we're going to grab our legend, and then we would turn this like we do have this, we do have this.
don't have that. Well, that's, yeah, okay, we do have that.
Okay. And the capped rebar found.
Yeah,
Power pole, we probably don't have a sewer valve.
no,
All right. So, oops, let me just off.
don't
Yeah.
have a manhole,
So you don't.
don't,
All right. You got your boundary, you got overhead.
don't have any overhead utilities,
Okay.
don't have a fence.
And then that's into your floodplain, then driveway and gravel. You got riprap
Nope,
or driveway. All right, so you could do that and then draw here, and that looks okay. Hatch size scalar. We'll just leave that. I think we'll leave that and then change it as we need. I'm going to set this to 1 on each of these, and we'll probably have to edit those after it's done. Yeah, factor layer name legend style. Okay, draw the legend title. Underline it. 0.3 is a little big. Let's make that just a 1. 65. Draw that. All right, let's see what that's going to look like. Then it wants us to pick the place to put it up here. And then we'll exit that. And now that's got some things that are really huge. So this one will have to scale. And we'll make that one a 1. How about a 0.2? A little better.
Didn't turn off the power pole.
Yeah, I turned off the power line. I left the power hole on there because I thought there were some, I didn't check on it.
Okay.
So let's just move this. So anyway, we would do that. And it was this one, the power pole, you say we don't have any, right?
Right.
Then these.
Now you can bring that directly into paper space. Is that true? Like I brought that in on the cover sheet.
Yeah, you can now see. I was just taking a look at, because this is way too big. This isn't long enough. We want to, make this bigger and then set its LT scale and put that on. Boundary. Actually, I think one would have done that. Actually, maybe let's see if that matches. One would probably match, but it would need to be long enough to get the pattern in there. That's still too. See what this one is. That's 0.5. Okay, so we would. Actually, the easiest thing to do right now would be to take that and just do a match. All right, let's see if we can do this to the midpoint. And that's not enough. And I want to set that to east instead of. Then what I was looking at, see, these are huge. So if we take this and let's scale that down by, let me see. I don't know if we don't really necessarily need to make it narrow. I mean, we don't even make it narrower. We're going to just make it shorter. And then we'll move it from here to sort of line that up. And then we're going to move it this way. And then we're going to copy that from the insert of this to the insert of this. And then we'll take this. Then the back and then get rid of the first one that we drew, just in case it's on a different layer. And then we'll take this. And set it that to that. I don't know why it's bringing two polylines in. I think one is technically the boundary of the hatch, but we'll send that to back. We'll send this. So that's going to match. All that's going to match. Let's recenter this. On for seconds. Midpoint extension. Okay, so now I'm going to move from here. There. Mm. Get it to work like that. Let's try it like this and see if we can get it to be the same size. Let's still keep the symbol, not quite. All right, and I've done that. I keep twisting it a little bit. Now, there we go. All righty. And we're going to take this and move that. Down to there. We'll then spread this guy down. These guys down with them. So we're just sort of getting these to be on an even basis. So if we go from the insertion point of that to the insert of, there it is, that, and then move previous from the insertion of that to the insertion of that. Now those are exactly the same distance apart. And we'll do the same thing here. Go from the insert of that to the insert of that, and then move previous. Same spacing from the insert of that to the insert of that. All right, so now that is all the same. Space. I'll get that off the tip of the arrow a little bit. And then finally, we'll move this down to match. We'll bring these guys in a little bit so it doesn't get so deliberate, and we could put a little frame around it there, but we'll do that over in paper space. And do we want, I guess, to make this, you want that upper and lowercase, or do you want that all uppercase?
I guess all uppercase, and we probably also ought to call that the 100-year floodplain.
All right. Effective. Or what did we call it? The floodway?
Just, yeah. Just floodway is good.
Let's see if we're gonna spell floodway. Is that everything that we have? We've got contours
Well, they're not showing up on the plat submitted.
on the plat. Okay, yeah. All right, and then are you doing? So let me bring above there. Are you doing? We don't have any access easements.
Yeah, there is an access easement.
Okay, so we, oh, there it is over there. Yeah, so we'll need to keep that one in the adjoiner. What about setbacks? We have that.
No,
All right, so then the rest of that is as we have it over there. Will you be having coordinate ticks?
yes,
Okay, so we'll need to keep that. So now, a couple of things. We could have, we could make up another viewport and put it here to include this, but then we've already got this and it came from something before. This is all in our paper space now. So let's do this. See, I'm saying once it's over, once it's anywhere, really, these are just individual things. That's just a polyline and a hatch. So we could have just added those two items into this. However, you've got this already, built here. You could have just, copied these and added those to it. It's since we've got this in it as well, because this is not in that legend file that you have. So it's probably good there. And since this is in paper space, let's see, that needs to be what scale is this? This is 100 scale. So
we don't have any overhead wires.
right, but I'm gonna leave this one intact. I just want to see what I need to make. Yeah, that would be a 0.5. All right, so you do not have setback limits and overhead wires,
Correct.
but you do have a joiner departing line. So, and then you've got, maybe a symbol that you're going to put there. So anyway, you've got something already here in paper space. Now, what I'm going to do here is I really want to keep that legend in paper space. However, we did it over here in model space, and it comes in there to, the scaling is all set up correctly, etc. And we've made a couple of edits and changes to some things here as well. So one thing you could do to bring that across is when you're here, you would do another viewport, except we're going to switch to be on that viewports layer. And then we're going to go to view, viewports, create a model view viewport, and we're just going to set one to something like this. We'll double click in here. What's this? That's it's a location map. Okay. No, that's the location map. Where is there? Oh, so what do we have out there? What is that? Is that?
That's the location and set.
I know, but we had this.
Oh, I don't know.
If I select that, that is a block. Also a block. I wonder which one we used. If I were to get rid of that and then look at that, it stays there. So apparently that pointed to the right one. Okay, so I think we'll be all right there now too. Yep. And let me your midpoint and extension back off. What do you normally use set these to all the time? Endpoint.
Endpoint, perpendicular. Uh, that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right, so that's back there now. Back to the way you have it. So now, once you have that, and here's this viewport, we would basically set this up. No, we were in that's 1 to 100. So this one needs to also be 1 to 100. All right, so that'll match. You see the letters all match.
Yeah.
And we'll leave that. I'm just going to make this big enough to get everything. And this one had, it's a scale of 0.4. If we match that. Right. So now, so we have two different things here, but you've got one out here that's got some things that you might already want to use, like this access easement. Those are all nice and good. But we've got these couple of things here that we might want to add to it. Now, we've also got the words on the left, the symbols on the right, and over here you got it the other way around. So this looks pretty good like it is down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy or keep the things we need from here. So we have no, we said no setback limits and no overhead wires, correct?
Right.
So we're going to just select those items and delete them. We do have the adjoiner departing. We have the boundary. We will have a found through.
No, do not.
Oh, there's the symbol. Okay, so we don't have that. We've got set and found, SHEPPs and gates.
Don't have any gates rebar, just found. Yeah,
And-
okay, that's good.
And what about either of these?
Don't have any utility poles, do have unmarked points.
Okay. So we will have that. Now, what did we have up here? We've got a merger area. We've already got that one, which we won't need.
We can
But
get rid of the one on the bottom then, I guess.
what, this thing here? I mean,
The cap,
this,
capped rebars.
so this one, we're going to use this one up here as the word.
Right.
Okay, so, all right, so, but what we're going to do is we're going to take what we need from here and just add it to our existing thing. So we've got these, they show up, they match because we've got our scales and we did this from paper or from the model. So that because we set our legend from model space, so it read the model space and the scaling was taken care of. And then we brought it in here with a viewport, so the scaling would be the way we want it on the paper. But what I want to do is to take this stuff and bring it into paper space at this size. So remember the command that we're going to use for that?
Change space.
Change space, exactly right. So I'm going to double click inside of there. And then we're just going to take everything. I'm going to draw a little crossing window like that. And then I'm going to type CH space. And it says set the target viewport active and press enter. So it's now active. I'll press enter. And 19 objects were moved from model space to paper space. Scale by a factor of 0.01 to maintain visual appearance. Now the text, however, this text was 0.15625 was the text up. I think the text was annotative. And if I make that now let me undo. Oh, great. What did happen here? All right, undo.
I've got to figure out a way to set a standard legend that can apply to all drawings. This just takes way too much time to do for each drawing.
Yeah, well, I don't know where. Oh, I do know where. It, no, yeah, cause see, it completely got rid of that and I can't undo it and make it come back. All right, um, so what we'll do there then, instead of going through that again, let's get rid of the ones we don't need. We don't have this, and we don't have this. So we're going to move these. Get all of those. Move them up. That looks fairly evenly done. Now we've got two other patches that we're going to do. We'll go from there to there, and then also to there. And we will match one to the other. So if we're in here, double click, I select it. I see I'm color 253 and it's solid. So I'm going to make this one color 253. It's already solid. And then this one is also that color, but it's ANSI 31. 200 scale. So I'm going to make this one also that color 253. And it is ANSI 31. And the reason I'm doing it this way instead of just match properties is because of the scaling difference. One's inside a viewport and one's out here in paper space. So I set it scaled to 2 instead of 200 because it's not being scaled up. Now the polylines around each of those is not that dashed line, but it's just a regular,
Solid.
yeah, continuous. So I'll make that like so. And then I'm going to call this one the FEMA 100-year flood. Are you making floodplain one word or two?
Doesn't matter. Sometimes I do it one way, sometimes I do it another.
All right. So we'll do that one, and then we'll call this one the FEMA 100-year floodway. And yes, let's move all of these guys a little closer to the grid. And then that stays off of that. That looks okay. We might want to bring this out. Even with it's not finding the edge of that. Right, well, all right. All right, so now that we've got that and we use that other one from the saved file, we just keep that as a starting place. And we normally get it like we like. We bring it into paper space with via the viewport, and then we do a change space on it. The problem was when I selected, when we did the when we did this draw from here, and let's just take that as it was and maybe put it out here. Exit that. This had a scale of 0.4. All right, so now that came out, I didn't set the yes and no and all that kind of stuff, but what I wanted to look at was this. We have it set to be annotative. Okay, so to be able to do this trick, to bring it from here over to the other, we need to make the annotative part of it go away. I also need to make this when we let's fix this file and change that instead of effective floodplain. We'll call that the FEMA. What is it typically going to be 100-year?
Yeah.
Flood.
It'll always be 100-year.
Flood way. I've got to make sure I put it in the right, I put the right wording on the other. So that's the floodway, then the floodplain. 20. Okay, so now we'll save that. So next time that will come in. Now, so then as we're doing, excuse me, as we're doing this in the future, we're going to select all of these pieces of text and we'll just simply change their annotation property from yes to no. And then when we do the change space, it will scale it correctly. Otherwise, that's why it did that. All right. And okay, let's do that one. If we use that merger arrow, let's see if we can set that scale in here. So it gives a hatch. Doesn't let's say it's a block. But the file doesn't show it as a block. It shows, well, it does. It shows as a symbol. At that symbol name, select. Well, see, it doesn't let me set the scale. I can blah, 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 but I can't set the scaling of that block. So that's what you're going to just have to do is when it comes in huge, like it will, just find it the way you've set it in the drawing, find what its scale is. We select it over here. We see down here that it is at a scale of 0.4. And then you would come over to here and make it 0.4. And then, of course, you would probably want to scoot this out a ways. And then you would, set those scalings to be, whatever they're going to match, to match, actually just to match the line work in the drawing. You might set those to be long enough for those patterns to show up, tweak those things down, bring it over into paper space if you needed to. You don't have to bring it into paper space. You can still do it through a viewport and just leave it referenced in like that. But it's nice to be able to do this when you're picking from the drawing. But once you have that file pretty well done, which you're getting there, you can you can do the command in paper space. And if you let's see what it's going to have us do. I'll just put it off here to the side and we'll say draw. And there's our text size, symbol size, hatch line, gap factor, blah, 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 draw. Okay, all of that good. We'll say the layout, instead of being right symbol, we make it there. So now it wants us to pick an upper left point. So I'll just pick it over to here and then say exit. And then of course this has got to go way down to 0.04 this time, because even smaller, those points 4 times off 100. Oh, 0.004. There we go. And then move that like so. We'll get all of those and then move this. And now there's a hatch in here. It's the same color as that background, but anyway, we would move those, and I would probably rescale those hatches to look like to be more of this long shape like that instead of these big squares. But the one, once you brought it in there, and I'm going to just set it right here so you can see it is getting that as a hatch. There are hatches in here as well. If I select that they didn't come in with the scale correctly. Well, in any case, like I said, you can put this in either place. I like to do it though, all from the model space and then do the change space. Just when you do that, you have to set those text elements to be non-annotative instead of, they come in annotated because we've got that style set to be annotative. But
Okay.
All right. So anyway, that should cover what you need in the legend just by doing that. We just copied a couple here and set it. We got
But I
this.
can just copy that from that to the other two sheets.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just do that from paper space, and you would, just like you normally do, you're going to select what you want to do, and then you're going to right click clipboard, copy, and then I'd say with a base point, and then get that lower left corner, something that you're going to reference. You can type 00 or pick anything. Just pick the same thing when you go to put it on, if you want to put it here. And then of course we're going to get rid of all of this stuff here, and then clipboard paste. And when it asks you to pick a point, we're going to pick that same point. So it goes right there. And then if you wanted something over here, although
Nobody's going to get that copy.
so you can either leave it or erase it, do whatever you want to with that.
Yeah, I've got to take a quick break here to get rid of some coffee. I'll be right back.
All right, sir. I'll be here, and I'll pause our recording. So and you know, if you ever did need to do, like to match these kind of things here on, and this is a 20 scale viewport. I know they're not going to get this, but just to show you, you might, you know, change, you don't have setback limits and these a joiner, but you might call it an intermediate, you know, existing contours, intermediate or index contours, or you might just let one line go, or you know, you would change the description basically for the two. Let's just make that EX intermediate contour, you know, however you wanted to space that in EX index contour. You would do something like that, and then you would copy those two lines, and you would do a match properties. Now, if I don't know if match properties, if I can.
Well, I'm never going to remember this.
All right.
If I ever have to do it, I'll have to.
I was so basically, if you need to do something on a special case drawing, just change your text here and then take these lines, and you'd have to match the properties of the drawing you're trying to match, whether it's a boundary line, a contour line, whatever it happens to be. And you could do that either by looking in the viewport, selecting it and seeing what this is coming out of the viewport and selecting it and setting the same. Or if you want to use the paintbrush up here to match properties, you'll have to copy what you're looking at in model space into paper space. So you would have to do a little change space on, you know, just a couple of those items here, and you would do at that point you would do a CH space, and there is I don't want to, I'm going to do that. There's a way you can set change space to make a copy instead of moving it from one to the other. But
well, let's skip that for another day.
Yeah, but so that's another task, and we'll set there aside.
Now, how about the inversing thing? Is that something we need to address, or should we go?
Let's resolve that, because I need to find out why that's going on. And it's in this drawing or the other one?
It's in this one.
Okay, so if we inverse, and let's just say
11.1 to 4.
So say 1 to
11.1. Oh, whatever.
Oh, well, yeah, it won't really matter. So if I say 11.1 to 4, there's my azimuth and my horizontal distance. Now, if I inverse again, but if I look at my O for options, I standard right here, angle to report.
Okay. Wonder how that got changed.
I'm not sure, because, and so you can do your decimals out here. You can set that to be only to the 100th or to the 1000th, whatever you want it to be. You may like it long, so you can do the round off.
Yeah, that just adds confusion.
So what you want it?
Yeah, 3, I would say.
3, okay. Yeah, so we got 3. So now, and then again, of course, you know, if you see, you got the idea, you could get both distances if you needed that, or just horizontal is what you mostly use.
Right.
So,
okay, so that fixes it.
Yeah, and then, and you can do this total distance if you're basically traversing. It'll report your perimeter and all these different kind of things. Latitude and longitude, I didn't realize it would do that. That's kind of cool. So anyway, you can do all of those, auto zooming, so it would jump to your points and center those in the screen, all that kind of stuff. But now when all right, so now let's go from 1 to 4. And we see that now we got a bearing south 194516 west, distance 275.112. Okay. So that's now there. Now, what causes that is because you obviously have no memory of having popped that dialog box up and clicked that to change it to azimuth, right?
Right.
And
Let me
so
go ahead and save this drawing real quick.
okay, Emily, press escape. You're in the middle of, there you go. Now do it. Now you got it. Okay. So what happens is sometimes when you run a command, and if the command is interrupted, or gets canceled, you know, because of whatever other error condition, sometimes it sets a bit in a variable that will go back the next time that command is run. It's reading that erroneous bit that got set with the incomplete command. And that's true for any given setting that you might have, that it can possibly do that. It can potentially do that. So that's
okay,
just,
now I know how to fix it. I hit
yeah,
inverse and O for options, and that takes me to the chart.
right. And so now, but there's also, if, and I want to see if maybe it's also available here under my survey settings, initial traverse and side shop mode. No, that's if you're computing. So that has nothing to do. And now, do you use, you don't use CG
No,
survey at all?
I don't use it at all.
Yeah, so let's turn that off. And that'll get rid of that extra menu up there. All right, so it's not in that. Now, would it, see, there's a couple of places in these defaults where you can set, like, well, that's for vertical angle. So that's not anything there. I don't see. And there's, of course, if you're not, this is your point defaults to not use elevations, and that's fine. If that's, but if you're doing your topo stuff, you might want to re-look at this, but I don't see anything that sets the azimuth there. If I look at my annotation defaults, if I look under angle,
Yeah, I looked at all those last night.
yeah, so that's now, so degrees, minutes, seconds, degrees, and that's if I'm doing, if I'm using an azimuth, I put a prefix of AZ.
Right.
And then label, so it doesn't ask the north. So these are my quadrant tags when I'm doing bearings. All right. It's interesting that it doesn't ask. All right. Well, that's where I thought it might have been in that one, but it's not in my auto annotate command when that comes up. No, that's just right here, angle format, bearings and azimuths. That's, I knew it was in here somewhere. So as long as this is still set to bearings, it's going to read what you had in those general settings with the quadrants. If you chose azimuth, it would then switch over to use that AZ prefix or whatever you, however you tell it you want to show azimuth. But
Yeah.
this is where it triggers it to use bearings in your annotation. So that's all set correctly. So it was just the options in the inverse command, and they got set somehow incorrectly, probably through an interrupted command. All right.
Okay, I think we're finished with this drawing. I can close it out.
Okay. And that was was that Bell, or is that, okay.
Okay.
There's our old buddy. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So now you're basically going to deliver a package to your engineers. And you've got a couple of options here, Michael. You can look, and some people will do this. You can look at your survey work, which are the white and red contours, right? And compare them to these gray contours. And you can look at those and make an assessment that says, you know what, the gray contours are pretty good. They're pretty close. I'm just going to use those. And then, had you known that going in, you could have saved yourself, a day of field work and, give them these just as drawn contours. Then you just trim them out.
Let me ask you a question about that. In the future, if I if I get a job to do a topo, can you bring in those existing GIS contours into the drawing and then go out and do some field checks to see how they look?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can always do that. And you can do it just the same way you've done this. You can look at these contours, go out and measure enough information to where you can establish a surface with what you've surveyed and then compare the resulting contours to these contours. Or you could even, if you're out there on the ground, if you can find, say, this point and this point, and if you know where those points happen.
Well, I could do that by creating a point on one of these lines. Just create a point there and then go out and stake to it and see how my elevation compares to what this one says it should be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just go that distance and see what it is. And you can make that assessment and see if that's going to be good enough. And so what one of the things you want to be careful of is, especially around roadways, around the edges, because and if you remember seeing that the terrain model that we built, it was all jumbled over here, but the contours aren't bad. They look okay. But the other, and also you want to, and if you can find out the date of the photography, and nothing's been done out here on the ground, nobody's brought in any kind of fill or did a big cut operation or shaved off the hillside for some visibility. If you know that none of that's happened since the photography was done, you're in pretty safe territory. But now here's the other thing that you might want to keep in mind. And particularly if you don't do this very often at all, you don't get asked to do that, you might just want to verify these existing contours and then deliver that map. But here's the one difference, and why I would always be doing the actual building of a terrain model, is because some of these engineers now are going to realize that you're going to have a terrain model and they're going to ask you to deliver that terrain model, not just drawn contour lines. Some will, some won't, because some don't really use it yet or don't care about it much yet. So, in that particular case, what you've done, you've made this actual survey of this area. We've got a model, and then we sliced it into this outside overall model, merged them together, and now we can deliver them an actual file through LandXML that is something they can use in their modeling directly, and they don't have to go and build a surface from these contour lines.
Okay.
Now, but now, that's how we built this surface to do our merging. But just looking at it contour line to contour line, and we see this general shape, we're coming, I'm talking about those state lines now. We generally come down, we swing over, and then we come down in this direction, and then swing back and go in that direction. And that's the general shape and location of our contour line, with the exception of this bit up in here. And but everything else is pretty general. So, or pretty generally in agreement. So that just is a matter of what you need to deliver to them. And if all they want is if all they want is just the drawn contours, I would be I would be tempted to just take these GIS contours that you got and I would trim them out to this little boundary here, maybe, that we drew. And, let them get trimmed off to that boundary. And I would do that simply by, isolating these two layers like that. And then go to your edit. I'm going to let you drive this now. Now go to your edit menu. And I would say erase by closed polyline. And now select the perimeter. That's the red. Okay. And you want to select, and you can limit it to anything you want. Right now, we've limited everything anyway, because we are we isolated the layers, so that's going to take care of the limiting. Then you choose to erase the inside or the outside, choose the outside, and we say okay.
I was going to take the points from my survey and
no, it's all, because we isolated these layers, it's only going to take those things that we see showing here.
Okay. So hit okay.
Correct. And now it asks us to pick any exclusion parameters because we had that check. We don't have any. We're going to say enter for none. And that's going to go through. Now go back and restore your layers, which is that second one. And now all those things will come back. So now there's that. And now the only thing you've got left to do for these contour lines is you're going to want to, you might put them on different layers. I know that this is this one, and you're going to want to label. So if we want, say this one, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, then this one over here. You might want to match those with these, the ones you've got drawn. Just put them on that same layer, and you can change the line style and color and dashes and whether or not and all that. But then the biggest thing is you want to label these contours that you deliver. Okay. You don't have to put them on a different layer, but you can in fact do this. In fact, I'm going to talk you through so you can do the labeling of what these are. If you, and I would leave everything on so you can see where you're going to need it. Like you don't really need to worry about labeling.
How about these things?
Oh, those you can freeze. I would leave them in, but just so you have them. And I would freeze them by pick. There you go. Okay. And now you can also freeze that outer red boundary, and that will freeze both. It's still asking. Okay, yeah. That will also freeze the inside one where you did your survey, and that's fine. Okay, so now there's your deliverable. Once you get, because we got the 3D break lines, we're going to freeze. You're going to take care of freezing certain points and that kind of stuff. So, you can work on all of that stuff as you need it. But so what you might want to do is and I don't want to chase down necessarily all of the contours, because if you look at the contour, select one of those gray contour lines that is one of the index ones. Yeah, that one there, just pick it and look at your properties, and you see it's called contours from WVGIS. And if you look next at one of the intermediates, escape so that it's not selected. Now select that one, and you're going to see, go ahead and click that, and you're going to see, select it. Yeah, you're going to see in the properties, it's on the exact same layer because that's the way it got brought in. We did not put them on separate layers Because really, when the GIS brings it in, the layers that it would put them on would be probably, the elevation itself as a layer name. So it's not real flexible in that regard. So they all came in on a single layer, but they do have their proper elevation. So we're going to label the elevation, and that'll tell us which ones we want to change to the index layer.
Okay.
You can go ahead and escape that so it's no longer selected. And we're going to now label those elevations. So if we go up to the surface menu and we look at the contour portion, which is up in there, there you go. And we're going to select, and you remember this was the this is where you did that thing like move label along the contour. Remember when you did that, walk the contour? That's where you do this kind of thing. So what we want to do is to label these contours, and I think that's going to be the contour elevation label command right there. Okay, now we need to pick a layer for it to go on, and we have, and it's taking right now I guess the last, probably that's where we put the last, that's the layer name of the last time we ran this command, back on one of your other projects. Okay, so you could leave it like that, and it would create that as it did, or go ahead and hit set. And let's scroll that down, and I think we've got, let's see if we have a V dash. Yeah, I'm looking for a V dash. Okay, we don't have that. Yeah, so we could do those. Yeah, go ahead and choose that as their label, and we say okay. And the label style, now you see where it says contour label as a style, that was a named style that we had at some point. It probably doesn't exist in this drawing, but we could then define the style later and it'll take care of that. So you can either, set it to standard, or you can leave it like it is and define that style later, or you can see if this already is defined. Any of those things. So there's your standard style. And we do want to index contours. We want to label the index only. That's what we want to do. And those are going to be at an interval of every 10 feet. Okay. And so now we set the text size scalar, and right now it's set to 0.06. So that's, sort of tiny. You might want to bump it up to 0.08. Okay, and whether or not you want prefixes and suffixes like, a foot symbol, or some people, I've seen contour maps that say AMSL, above mean sea level. None of those apply. Take a look at that. The number of integers, and that's the number of placeholders to the left of the decimal that we want them all. And then the number of decimals after, the placeholders to the right of the decimal, and we don't want any. We want to place them on the contour. And we want to, ignore zeros, fine. Draw them on the real Z is fine. Align with the contour, yes. And we're going to hide under the label. So that way we're going to be able to do that move along later on. And that should be okay. And then that, so we'll say okay to that. And now let's read our prompts. It says, define a line which slices the contours at the place to label them. So if you're going to draw the line that's going to slice across the contours, and every time it intersects at one of the index contours, it's going to drop a label at that
Like
place.
from there to there?
Well, I mean, I would just, and you can do this in various pieces. So you're going to like maybe you want, some labels in there, and you would do something like that. So you see how that,
Yeah, okay.
and now it keeps asking you to keep doing it. And you could like maybe now go over here and do a few, like that. So that's what you're going to do. And like maybe you'll want some out here in the road, if there are any. I don't know if there was only the one. So you get the idea, and I'll let you do it now. So click, and see where you're going to want any particular labels, and just, give them enough so they can see the trend. There you go, and see if there's, yeah, exactly right. And now we get down there in the, yeah, in that area. You go from there toward, yeah, up that way, and then also go down toward the river. There you go. And then if you find you've got something drawn, that's unnecessarily close to something else, then you can, either erase it, or you can do that move along the contour command later. So all of those things are good. Now I would do one thing, wait, before you do that. Wait, you're still in the command. I would come down here and, since there's a lot of contour lines up here, I'd give them some down there as well. So I think that should have picked up those. Okay. There we go. I think. Yeah, well, it probably didn't need that one. And then we say down here to cut the prompt, it says enter to end. So we just hit enter. And if we didn't necessarily need that, you can just simply erase it. Or you could have moved along the contour and all that. So now you've got that part done. Okay. Now to move the contour lines themselves up to that, the layer that is the one that you created on yours, like this layer, right? Excuse me, Mike, my voice is going. So that's vsurf CTR IDX. You could take, and this one is vsurf CTR INT. So you could simply do a match properties, select one of those index lines, and then just go through here and find all the lines that have, the labels. And unfortunately, those are not, you can see up here, they didn't join them. So, you would pick the obvious extensions of those. And you would just go through here and, set these all to be that index layer, as you find them. Now you may find a couple of them, like maybe this one, after you finish this all up, you may, just do some spot checks, and I'll end the command and say, maybe I had like this one here, I don't necessarily know, I didn't label it. You would just select it, read its elevation, and see. Now that's going to be an index or an intermediate, so we're not going to change that one. All right, so you get the idea. So you put all those on the index layer, and then you would isolate layers, and you're going to isolate the remaining ones like this. And you would just simply select all of those and change them to that V surf contour INT. Okay, now I'm not going to do this just yet, but that would be what you would do. Now I'm going to restore the layers. And the reason I'm not going to do it just yet is because we hadn't finished doing all the index ones yet. And, you know, I'll leave that to you to walk through here and find. And then once you've done that, then you're going to still have this layer called contours from WVGIS, and there should be nothing left on that layer. That's fine. But you're going to want, you don't want to turn it, you don't want your contour map to have red and white contour lines unless you're doing it for Santa Claus. And then you would go to your layer definitions, and then on those two layers, which are intermediate and index, and the index label, I would set both of these to be a particular color, and I usually make them a little bit lighter. So I usually use this 253, and then I use this one, the intermediate, I'll set to the next one over, which is the 252. Okay, just to make them gray. And then I would set these line types.
Okay, why did you cancel those instead of setting them?
Well, the reason, because we haven't finished this, and I don't want to get these line in here necessarily, because what I want to do at some point is erase yours, if that's what we want to do.
Okay, I'm never going to remember all of this. How much time do you have to spend to walk me through this?
Oh, I can do it however much you want to spend. I mean, I can set this up and do it for you real quickly, or we can, you know, wrap through it.
Well, if you could do it for me, I would sure appreciate that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, no problem. So now here's the question I want to ask you though, is do you think they want you to deliver the surface that you generated? Or do you
Nothing in
want,
my contract calls for that. Let me look at my contract here real quick.
yes, yeah, see, if all they want's contour maps,
And
then
my contract actually isn't with the engineering company, it's with the owner.
okay. There's your topography up there above. Topographic map showing topography for the for 100 feet into the 50-foot right of way addition of the sightline distance. Okay, so that's showing topography. So that basically you would just deliver the map with the contours.
Right.
All right, and anything below that, any
The
further?
only thing extra I have to add is no, not as far
Yeah,
as.
yeah, you've got a in terms of the contours. So that looks like that's really all you need to deliver. Okay, so
Right.
so in that case, I think what I would recommend, you can go ahead and dismiss this, and let's go back to the drawing. What I would recommend that we do in this particular case, because their contours are fine, and I think it gives us a little more definition in places like this one right right in here.
Yeah.
You know, I like their contours there. It's a little more defined than ours are pretty, you know, angular looking, because we've got points so far apart. You know, that's really what caused it. So they had a few more points in there that they were able to do when they did theirs. Now, they didn't have this crown issue, in which case this would come over here, and your surface, because you measured this, it shows this contour coming to here. And so, you know, we would simply, what I would do is just, I would take this and I would add a vertex to be right there on that crown point, and then I would bring this guy back to here. And now we've sort of fixed their contour. I would do the same thing here. I might bring this one up to here, this one up to the crown point, and then bring this one down to here. All right, so I'm just basically reshaping around the road so it reflects your work where you did the survey. Now, remember, we're not changing the model. The model is still, you still got all those different files, but I'm keeping all of their nuance. And in fact, here's one, and I think I would just bring this guy, just scooch him down. And the good place to bring those to are to those known points that you surveyed. You surveyed the edge of road, the center, and the edge of road. So I would simply, make a couple of edits like this. And let's bring him to there and to here. And then I'm going to remove that vertex, remove that vertex, and then scooch this one up to there. All right, so we've got this one, and I would take this to there. I would just maybe move this one. I see ones in there. I just trim these or remove these spares out of here. And I would move, say, this one down to there, maybe get rid of that one, and let's get rid of all of these. Do that one. Let's put him up there. And same thing that was, right, that's yours. So we're going to take this guy to here. And I'll just bring him up to here. Bring him down to here and get rid of that little kink. And basically slide this to here, that to there, that to there, that to there, get rid of him. And now up here, wherever we started, that one's come down to here. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. And then we've got this one that we need to sort of reshape here. Up to there. Everything else looks good there. So now back to this one. So all we're doing is just sort of going through here and reshaping. Whoops. I want to add a vertex, not just move that. And then we'll get up to there. Get over to there. And let's get rid of this wraparound. All right, so you get an idea of what we're doing with their contours so that we're going to be able to then deliver the stake contours, which including the ones that we are reshaping here to reflect your survey work. Okay.
Right.
And we're leaving the rest of them because that gives us some nuance into where these things went. Now, I would say, there may be some stuff that caused these things to do like this and there. I would go ahead and leave those, and I would leave, this extra little wiggle that they have. I would just really focus on between these edges of the road. And then once we get those reshaped, there's no need to include your generated contours. We'll go through and get rid of those, because again, at the end of the day, it's just a drawn polyline. And there's the bring him, bring him down to there. And I think I'll let that one go. Here's yours, but we're right there at the edge, so I'm just going to get rid of those. Now, we have these few that are already converted. So out of yours, the ones that we're going to erase are going to be these white ones here, these intermediates. So I'm going to erase by layer, make sure it's cleared, select from screen. I'm going to select just yours. Now, the reason I'm not going to take your red lines is because it will get rid of these that we've already set. So I'm just going to do this one by layer. And then I'm just going to come in here and find your crossing ones, which will be just these within the road that are red. And if I select not that one, but that one, and that also gets this business out here, same as this one. And I think we have one more up here. And that one, managed to get that one the first pick. And I think that's it. We'll erase those. I'm going to take your contour labels that you did in the road. I'm going to take off, and we'll slide. We might have to relabel a couple of them here in a spot. But if we had any that were from yours, like this one, I can tell was from yours because the lines, it's not centered on that line. Yeah. The reason I'm going to do that one is because I can't use that move along the contour line because it has to have that original line it was created on. it doesn't know to use this one yet, so I'm going to get rid of your labels that you had. This one I think is, now this one I think was from before. I can verify that with my contours move along the contour. If I choose this, okay, no, that one's correct. That was, yeah, as long as they're walking around on that contour line, then we're okay. Move those at will. Any of them that won't move, you can just erase and then relabel if you need to. So there's your 430. They can trace that around. Here's your 420. Now this one, I'm going to put, see, that one's not moving. So that's one of yours. So I'm going to erase it. And I'm going to do a little crossing selection so that I also get the wipeout that's part of it.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And if we need to re-establish that 420, like up in here, ooh, let's see. We got rid of, let's see, what is this one? This one is 420. We just haven't, you know, matched that up yet. So we can go ahead and do that one. I'm going to do a match to that. There we go. And I think that has gotten everything we need. Let me freeze the break line layers also. We've got the center line. Again, that came from field to finish. That center line is drawn based on your surveyed center line. You may or may not want to leave that on.
Probably not, because I'm going to use the property line per the plat, which is the red line.
So now I would suggest that, because I think it's on a separate layer, V road center. Yeah, so we would, if we freeze that layer, now it's also going to take this line out. It would freeze that line too. Or you could just erase it if you wanted. So if you want to keep this one as a suggested.
What is that? That's the center line?
That's the one that you went through and got a probable center line.
Right, okay, yeah, then let's just erase the other one.
So so we'll just erase this one instead of freezing the layer. So that one will stay on. You can do something with that later. I saw something in here a second ago. How many do we have there? Just the one, okay. But right in here, I think we had, oh, that's a little straight piece. Oh, that's the point. All right, we had, I think there's one that we missed the crown on. I'm just going to come up here and do a little bit of a crown suggestion to sort of mimic these around it. I think that's all we did. We sort of missed that one when we were reshaping. But I think that's everything that we need to do now. And then I want to do a match now for the rest of these index. So I'm going to match that. I'm going to find everywhere I've got a label. I'm going to grab the contour around it, because I know those are index lines. There's another one there. And there's a case where you, even though you've got this one labeled, you also want to label that one so they know it's not 2 feet away. And let's see, we got all of those. We've got all of those, all of those. That looks good. And we're gonna just spot check some elevations here. Make sure we're not on any of the index ones that we miss. It's 406, 406, 406. That can't be either 6 or 8 or 4. Same in there, 406. So those are all good. So I know that since this one's 406, this one either is 404, 406, or 408. Same with these, go to the next contour over. So I'm not worried about those. I would possibly check, one like that. One is 408 instead of 410 repeated. Same thing here. This one's probably a 408. Yep. All right. So I think we're in good shape. Here we go. Red, and 1, 2, 3, 4 red. Make sure that it's a 12. That can only be a 14. So I just want to go through and make sure I've got four grays between the reds. And I'm leaving this red for right now just to give me a visual go by. So there's a 440. This one is 42. Also 42. 444, probably 446. Yeah, okay. That could be, that's still 446. That's in good shape. So red, 1, 2, and then repeats, and 3, 4, back to 40. Everything looks good there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe this one is, that's a 430. So that one needs to be matched. We just didn't get it in the labeling. So that was red, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this one right here. And at that point, we would go back and do our contour elevation label. And we just throw it here as it crosses that line. So that tells him it's 430. He knows that. We might as well do one here too. That's the 440, and then 440 again. He's got enough labeling up near the road. You can trace those around by eye. There's 430, 430, 440, 440. Yep, looks good. Okay, I think we're in good shape. Let me just 1, 2, 3, double check some more. That's 28. And it's going down to 26, 28. So there could have been a 30 in there, but it wasn't. There's a 430. And what's this one? Is this one also 430? Yes. So we will match this. We're going to match both of these. And we're going to label this one here, and maybe this one here, it's going to be eaten up. That's all right. That'll work. So 1, 2, 3, 4 red. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is possibly also. That is also. So we will match that to that, but I'm not going to label that one. I'm just going to leave it there by line type. He'll be able to tell it, and
Okay.
they'll be able to, they'll know that it's the same elevation, or he can even just select it. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4 red, making sure this is not. It's a 38. That's a 38. 38. That's probably also 38. That's really good. Make sure that's not a carryover 32. All right, I think we're good. Let me check these around here. That's 32. That's a 30. All right, so I know that one changes. That one changes. That one changes. And not that one. So these three, I'll take this and I'm going to change those. Make sure that's 28. That's 28. That's 32. Okay. I think this one we saw was 32. So you see what I'm doing here is just picking out all these ones that are that are index ones and make sure they're on the right layer. All right.
Right, right.
1, 2. Fortunately, that's these are the ones that we sort of have to peek through real quick. Oops. 6. That one's not going to be. This one's not going to be. This one might be. 2. We do need to go ahead and join this to this. Oops. I got a little gap in there. All right, so now this one is 22, so that one's 20. I'm not gonna bother joining it. I'm just gonna match it. So there's a little gap in it. I'll leave the gap. That's no big deal. Make sure that's not a 4. That is a 420. So we'll change that one. Look at this one is 20 also. So we will match that to that. I think that should have us. So I'm going to take all of these that I have managed to change. I'm going to select similar and I'm going to put them in the back. The reason being I wanted it to go underneath that wipeout that was in there. So
Okay.
that's all pretty well taken care of. They're all on the right layer. Now I've got these that are still on this contours from WVGIS. So if I isolate just that layer, all of these need to go on that other layers. Select their properties and put that on the surface CTR INT. So I'm going to restore my layers. Now I've got reds and whites. And I'm now going to go back to my surface or my layer definition rather, sorry. Put in my little filter here. And I'm going to take my index and the labels and I'm going to set that color. I'm going to set for my intermediate the adjacent color a little bit darker. And now for these two lines, I'm going to set, there's a Carlson provides these two layered or line styles called contour and contour 2. A lot of people use dashes and all that, but if you use the contour for the index and the contour 2 for the intermediates, you're going to be able to control those a little nicer. And you can see the pattern. And so what that's going to do is provide these as, that pattern. And we want to make sure we're going to select similar for those, make sure the line type generation is set to yes, so that it doesn't interrupt the pattern. We'll select similar for all of the others. Make sure line type generation is yes, that's correct. Now, so there is your finished contour map, but these patterns might look a little too broad, even at this scale. So what I like to do with these is set their line type down. So I'm going to select them similar, again, all of those, and I'm going to change their line type scale to 0.5 for these individually. So I'm making the pattern half of what it really should be. And really what I should do, we should actually, the contour and contour 2 line types should have been defined a little tighter, but they weren't, and keep from having to redefine it. I'm just going to reset those particular individual lines. Each one of those has a line type scale of 0.5, whereas the others have generally 0.1 or 1 rather.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do one last thing here is I'm going to move along the contour. This one is in a little bend point, so it's sort of, oh, that was one of yours. Okay, that's why it's not lining up. So I'm just going to erase that one. And I'm going to go back and put it so it's on the contour line. Here's another one I see that is, oh, that one is probably, yeah, it was in that little awkward spot. So,
Right.
okay, I think, if you notice any particular awkwards, you can,
That looks pretty good to me.
yeah, I think so. So if I do this one, yeah, see that one doesn't connect to that. So there we go. All right, I think you're good to go in that regard. Now, if they should happen,
Okay, one thing I'd like to do is connect the proposed entrance point here with the center line here. I
okay,
think that's how it has to come in.
all right.
And he's going to have to put some fill in here to get this up relatively level. The highway department's never going to let you enter the highway at that angle.
Oh no, he's gonna have to build a road in there and design the road.
And then I also need to show the sight line distance. And I don't know where to do that on the drawing. So you might help me with that.
All right. All right. So if you want to indicate his potential alignment, all you would do is, in fact, if we just draw a 2D polyline, and we're going to uncheck this use current, and we're going to say pick. So we're going to use that same V road center. And then we're going to go from, let's just go from the end of that one, which is actually that point. Let me go back to my settings and turn points, object snap on. Ah. If I go from that point, see how that lights up over there because I'm pointing to the actual point. And now what's the point that it's going to go to?
This entrance there proposed.
All right. And then I'll just click that right there. You see where it's lit up on the snap. Okay, so click. And then you're done. Hit enter for that. And now all you did was you drew a polyline from that point to that point. So you want to join that up together.
Okay, so I go to the join.
Join nearest. Which is, it's on the toolbar up, yeah, up a little more and to the right. There, yeah. There you go. So that now shows that particular potential alignment. Now, what he'll do with that, and I won't waste your time here to show it, but he'll take a look at that and assess that, and he'll decide, okay, well, that looks like a good path. And he might straighten this up to be more of a 90-degree coming off the road and
Right.
throw an arc in here and an arc in there and straighten in. He'll carry it on as much as he needs to do it. Then he'll design a profile. So he's obviously not going to come down the bank. He's going to come out, fairly flat. And then he's going to, have the road design, treat that as the crown of the road. He'll come off 2% either side for like 12-foot lanes or however size the road he is. He'll hit that, and then he'll take that resulting edge of road and he'll tie it down to the existing grade in both directions at a 3-to-1 or a 2-to-1, whatever his side slope conditions are. But that's all part of his road design. Unless you're tasked with trying to indicate how much cut and fill he's going to do, I would leave that
that's for him to do.
Yeah, so I would just, when you deliver this, tell him that, this is a proposed pathway through the rocks, and that is going to show you where that potential is. Now, to get the site distance,
and let me tell you what the site distance is.
Okay.
Here, the site distance from here this way is up to the last point that I shot.
All right.
However far that is, and in the other direction, you can see as far. I mean, you can see forever.
Okay.
Going down that way, so that would be like 1,000 feet plus.
Yeah. Okay. So, what I would do to indicate that is when you indicate this particular location, I would put in, a heavy line. Start it off, and then I would label it as
line of sight, something like that.
Yeah, and actually they call that it's a clear sight. They call it
I go ahead and create a layer for that and just do it.
Yep. And then what we'll do is we'll indicate the boundaries on it in a certain way. So we're gonna make a new label, and let's call that let's call it V-road site. Yeah, line of sight. You call it LOS. There you go. And let's make it yellow or some contrasting color just so we can keep track of it. It doesn't have to be yellow, it can be green, anything you want. And I would leave it continuous, and that set the
line weight.
Yeah, the line weight, I would pull that up to make it like 0.4 maybe. Right in there. There you go. Say okay, and now double click it so it's the current layer. There we go. All right, so we're now on that layer, and we're going to basically draw a line perpendicularly across the center line here, edge to edge, and we're going to use that to indicate our directions of sight. So you want to draw a line, draw a 2D polyline, and you're going to go from, now this time check that you want to use the current drawing properties. There you go. Say okay, and I'll go from the end of your center line, or that particular, right there, click, and then you want to go repeat the command. Yeah. There you go. Click that, and now go perpendicular to the edge of pavement on the other side. So if you just hover over, there you go, click. All right, so enter, and you've drawn that. Okay. Now you want to indicate these, because I don't know if you're going to leave, you'll probably freeze off those elevation labels. I don't know what all you're going to need to show, because you've got the contours. But so now we want to be able to label this, and you're going to keep your property line. You don't want to put right over top of it. So we're going to go sort of right here in the visually in the middle, and we're going to go either side, sort of, perpendicular to that. So if you start a line, go ahead and draw your 2D poly, and let's just go ahead and say, okay, now let's just click visually, just right in, say, right in here somewhere, just visually. And now you want to go perpendicular to this line up here. All right, so that's now perpendicular. And now you can take this and actually just extend it. Let's see, do we have? No, let's see. Let's move it from its midpoint up to its end point. And so now there's a line that crosses that line because that's their proposed entrance. And we can put, arrowheads on the ends of this. And then we'll label the distance away. And then we're going to come down here and put another one of these little horizontal lines with an arrow pointing to it and indicating the sight line. Then up on this end, we're going to go way out here and just draw another one of those lines, and we'll put a double-headed arrow on past it, and we'll call that one, 1,000 feet plus, or whatever that number, whatever nominal number is out there.
Okay.
All right. So first thing we want to do is we want to put arrowheads on the ends of this line.
Okay, so draw.
Yeah.
What am I drawing there?
Well, there's several ways you can do that. You can do it with a leader, but that's going to try to do the whole thing. But we want to just do the arrowheads only, perhaps. Let me see.
Not seeing an arrowhead command there.
Yeah, it's, if we look over here in their tool bar, you see that right there? That's an arrowhead only. And then, I'm not sure where that command is. Arrowhead. That should be, it might be, from a symbol. I don't think, you see, oh, there it is, right there. Sorry, from leader, arrowhead only. There you go. So if you choose arrowhead only, and now the arrow size, now this is in ground distance, and we're going to do this at a 20 scale. So if we want to have like a 1/10 of a foot at 20 scale, that should be a 2. So we're going to type 2. Enter, and now you're going to pick a line to add the arrow. There you go. And hit enter. I know, what did it do? There it is. All right. So maybe we should have kept that maybe 0.4. That would have been better. So let's erase that. The solid, that's it. And hit the delete key. Now let's do that again. We'll rate, or there you go. And this time set it up to 4. And now pick the line, and it's going to put it right there at the end. All right, now there, and no, you can't do it that way because it identifies the line. It just goes to the end of the line. Okay. So we hit enter there. And now we're going to take that and we're going to mirror it so it goes to the other end of the line. So we're going to select that solid, the arrowhead itself. Yeah. And now we're going to run the mirror command, which is over on the right vertical pull down. And it sees those 2 triangles back to back, right there. But one more up, right there. So we click, and now it wants us to show the mirror line. Now the mirror line is going to be the horizontal line, no, the perpendicular line to that crosses the pavement. So you want to pick it from one endpoint. So if you click there and then go to the other one to click, all right, there's the start. Now go, there you go, right there. Click and delete the original no. So you're gonna say no for that, hit enter. And now that's done there. And it should be right at the end point of that line. So that's all well and good. So it's basically just a shape. All right.
Okay.
So now we want to copy this and this down to our endpoints. We'll also bring the line with it too, and we'll trim it when we get down there. So we want to copy this from where it is here down to where it terminates on the other end.
So
So
right click copy.
yep, just a plain old copy. And where we're going to copy from, it's going to ask, no, it's going to ask the base point. So we're going to copy it from, let's go ahead and just grab the line. This line sort of splits the road across. So if you go to its midpoint, and that happens to be it, so click, well, it's not really the midpoint. You'd have to shift right click midpoint or choose it from your snaps.
Oops.
Oh, that's okay.
That did.
All right, yeah, let's start this over. Whoop, hang on a second. All right, now, so if we take this and this and copy that, and we're going to go from that midpoint. So I'm going to come up here and grab my midpoint. And now I want to put that midpoint down here. Now we're going to have to rotate it a little bit once we get down there because we're now still parallel to that other place. But I'm going to put it like right at that point. That's that last point in the center.
Yeah.
But we're actually at that point, right?
Right.
So there it is. Now we're going to need to rotate that so that it, now I'll finish the copy. So that's that concludes the copy. Now what I want to do is to rotate this stuff. So I'm going to select just this stuff. Now I know I'm latched onto it right there at its midpoint. So I'm going to rotate that. I'm going to go over here on this vertical toolbar and choose my rotate command. And it wants to know a rotation point. Well, that's that point right there, which is the end of that line. Okay. And now I can either type an angle or show it an angle, but I can also type B for base angle. See the option down there?
Yeah.
And the base angle is from that point out to its end point. And the angle I want it to be is now going to be perpendicular to that line. So now there it is, but again, it's stuck here on the midpoint is at that point. So I'm going to now move it from that midpoint, which is that point, and I want to put it at basically the midpoint between the two edges. So I'm going to scoot it up there. Now notice the pavement's a little bit wider.
Yeah.
So all I need to do is just extend it, and I would just set that and extend and push that up. So now it's there, and we've got this down here. And the last thing I need to do is I'm going to move this up so it ends here instead of here. So I'm now going to move this from this endpoint to, I have to get the intersection now, which is this one right there. Okay. And also because that's now twice its size, I'm going to move that back to its midpoint. That move the one end down to its midpoint. So now that's showing that limits of the visibility. Okay. Now we'll do the same thing on this side, but get the upper arrowhead and that line. And I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go from its midpoint I'm going to go out here. And I'll even just sort of put it out here in space, just sort of eyeball it there. And it looks to be pretty well rotated in the right position. So I'm not going to really worry about any of that. And I'm going to take this and copy this from its endpoint to the intersection of this so that we can indicate that it continues. Okay. And we'll find out what that distance is if we measure the distance. Let's see, here's our distance tool. And we're going to go from the end of that line there all the way up to the end of this line. We'll see how close we are to a nominal. It's 503.31 feet. All right, so we can call that 500 feet plus. Is that all that is? 500 feet? Yeah, probably. And then we're going to also measure it from here and see what that number is. Let's go from the end point here down to here. And that's 555 feet. See the distance there. So this one, actually, to indicate that it's further, we might want to scoot this one out just a little bit further. So I'm going to get both arrowheads and both lines, and I'm just going to move it and just sort of eyeball it on out here. Let me make sure I'm not going to accidentally snap to something. I'll just keep going out this way, and we'll just leave it out there. Okay, so now we can say at this point, we'll call it, you know, I don't want to call it 1,000 feet plus if it's only going to be drawn at, 600 feet. I want to sort of get a sense of how close we are. So we are at 700 feet. So I'd call that 750 plus if you're pretty sure you see another 50 feet.
Okay.
All right. So now we just got to label, and we're going to put it, we're just going to call it, you could say SD equals if you're going to, somewhere in your legend or something, you said SD equals sight distance, but I think we've got enough room to label it. And we'll put a label here, and a label here, and then we'll do the same thing, one up here, and we'll call it 750 plus, and then down here, we're going to call that one, what did we say that was?
550, I think.
550, I believe you're right. Yeah, it's 549 point something or other, so we'll call it 550. And
Just
so,
do text.
yep, we're just going to go to the draw text, and I would make it multi-line because we might need to stack it. We'll just see. And now just off in space somewhere, we're going to line it up here in a minute. Just click and drag to the right and down. So a little bit further right. There you go, something like that. And now you notice the, oh, I see you're at a 50 scale here. I see. All right, let's press escape for that for a minute. One thing I noticed, and this is, we're at a 1 inch equals 50 scale. Is that what we are? What is our frame? Yeah. That is, oh, it is 50. I thought it was, that's why that, arrowhead came in at 4 because it was to be 0.08. That's perfect. Okay, that explains that. I was sort of had that in the back of my mind and couldn't figure it out. Okay, so now let's go back to our M text. Just click one there and actually, you know what? I escape that one more time. And we're going, I didn't realize you could set the rotation up front. I always did that after the fact, but let's go ahead and do it while we're doing this. So let's run the command again. And this time, instead of picking out there in space, let's click over to the right of that up in here. Yeah, just make sure you're not going to snap to the end, but come up here to the end, or let's even go to the let's snap to the intersection of where that line crosses the cross line. So go to pick your intersection, snap. Okay, so you want to snap there. Okay, so click. And now, instead of just drawing the opposite corner, you see one of the options says R for rotation.
Yeah.
So type R and hit enter. And now go to the end point of the arrow up to the right. There you go. Up, yep, click. Okay, and now it asks for the first point first. All right, so let's try it one more time. I'm going to escape it one more time here. Now I'll go back one more time. I thought it was going to keep that point, but it didn't. All right, so multi-line text. We're going to start at that intersection. So we grab our intersection snap. So we go down there and find the intersection of those two lines. The two yellow lines, the intersection. Right there, click. All right, and now R for rotation. All right, now you want to click intersection there again. Okay. And now show the second point as the end of the arrow. Perfect, like that. And now you're ready to go. It wants the opposite corner. So now zoom out and pull it down a little bit. There you go. Now drag it over, up the road and then over to the east a bit. Keep coming out a little more. You see how big your text's going to be. All right, now pull down to the right a little. So yeah, keep going. You're just indicating the block. All right, that's fine, right like that. And that's where you're going to have the wrap boundary. Now we can adjust that later. So at this point, you're going to type sight distance or sight DIST period equals. And you're going to put 750 and just let it wrap. We'll stretch it in a minute. Foot mark and then space and a plus.
Or minus plus.
Or I would put a plus, not a plus minus, just say 750 plus. There you go. Now, see the arrows to the right of that?
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah, stretch it out so it doesn't wrap. There, you can keep going right there. And now just click. Either one. Now, you can now select that and move it and just do a move and just move it to where and make sure your snaps are off. Yeah. So it's going to go from there to, and again, turn your snaps off again so you don't accidentally get a snap. And go to where it's to the right of that. There you go, right there. Click.
Oops.
It accidentally snapped. There you go. If you select it, you should be able to just grab the grip. Yes,
Here?
yeah, and just click that and then move it up. I would go a little bit further and a little bit over to the left a little bit, because you're setting to the left.
Oh.
Yeah. You want to sort of center it with the arrow. So click there. There you go. And so now.
Escape.
Yep. And so now you've got it, and it's going to look like that. You imagine these labels gone perhaps, or if you need to reposition it, you could do that. And now, because that says that in that side, you're going to you want to mirror that again, just like you did, or just select it and copy it and drag it to the right-hand side. And you're going to change that to 550 feet and then position it over there.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead and select the text. And I would just right click copy and then turn your snaps off and just reposition it. And now when you do that, it's only for this next click. Now, wait a minute though. You wanna
Oh, I didn't copy.
yeah, here.
Drag it.
Yeah, you want to do it not just down there, but you want to copy it like this. You want to copy, say, from here, and you want to put it, say, right in here.
Okay.
Okay, and then this time on this side, you're going to double click that and change the text from 750 plus to 550 without the plus.
Where'd it go?
It should be down below a little bit. Right in there. Yeah. Whoops, sorry here. There you go. So just go over there and make that a 550 and then take the space plus out on the end. Okay, so 550 and then one more delete and hit OK. Or just click in space, either one. All right, now scoot it up to the arrow to be about the same distance away as that other one is from the other one. And I would just give it that and just right in there. Okie doke. And so that now sets it from either side of the entrance. And then I would just copy this and I would copy this one just from in here somewhere, and then I would drag it down to here. And then we're going to rotate that, or we're going to actually find the rotation angle. And I look at this one and the problem with polylines, it doesn't tell you the rotation angle. All right, let's just move this to here. And if I rotate that from here by the base angle of here to across its top, and then line it up with that, and then I'll just move it like that. Okay, now this one, since it's at the same angle, all you would do is right click that, copy it from, say, there. We want to take it up to here and say that. Okay. And I think that should
That should show up on the topo map. Yeah.
we got it that way. We don't see the other end of it up here, and that's okay. You're not going to get it unless you do it at a different scale.
Well,
You've
he'll
got-
have the model.
Yes, that's correct.
He'll have the DWG or a DWG. I guess we're going to want to send him a different DWG.
Yeah. Yeah, once you clean out your points or whatever else you want to do to it in his file. And then I would take this cover sheet and final plat layouts. I would delete them. You just right click and delete, but I would leave this one in, do whatever you need to do to it that you want to do to it as if you were doing a finished plat for him. Or, a
I don't
finished.
know that I'm really going to give him any more information than that. He's just designing. You can see where the property corners are, the property
Okay.
line.
Well, then you could take all three of those layouts and delete them, and it's going to leave you with one called layout 1, and it's just going to be generic with nothing in it.
Okay, so you just do a save as.
Correct.
And we'll call this McCreary engineer. Drawing.
Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, now take those cover sheet, just we're gonna right click on each of those and just right click and delete. And do that for each of them.
Well, do I send him the topo?
That's only if you want to send him that sheet, you know, that with the titles and bar scales and anything that you want to do to it. If you don't, just go ahead and delete it, and you're going to be left with, it's going to create one called layout one. And you see, it's just generic. It's just a, and I would just leave it like that and don't do anything about it.
Okay.
And then just click on the model tab. And then when you save at this point, that's going to be what it gets, but you're going to clean up your points and do all that with it too.
Okay, so what do I need to clean up so that he doesn't get?
Well, you're going to want, first of all, let's take a look at any particular points that we want to save as part of the drawing. And you've got some spot elevation.
I'm an old man. I need to get rid of a little more coffee. I'll be right back.
Look it up. I'll pause this. So, couple things that you might want to include when you send these is, you know, you've got some of these points out here, like the toe of slope points and these spot elevations.
Right.
You might want to include those. That just gives them a little, you know, shows that you did the survey and all of that. And you might, now remember, we froze off that layer, the 3D break lines, all right, because that was the 3D edges that we used to model with. But we also have, you know, you could say, we went to, let's, we're going to put this on a thing called v-topo-toe. And we're going to say go from all of these toe points. So, nope, that's it. All right, and then you would set in toe. I would make that a probably, I would make that something like, make sure it doesn't show up as a contour line. And you might just label that toe of slope. That gives him an indication. Again, you surveyed the points, and you might even keep in the elevations, but you would get rid of those descriptions now. And then I would keep these little spot elevations. I wouldn't necessarily keep these centerline points, but I would keep the center line to indicate that as a potential center line. And we had up here this, what did you call that? That one point was best entrance. So that's how we, and we had an EP proposed entrance. Okay, so that was.
So I could probably turn the best entrance point off and turn that one off altogether.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of all these. I just want to see, do we need to label any of that? There's another EP entrance. And I think that was just around the proposed entrance. So we don't really need those points, and we'll freeze those off. I think the only points we really want to give him would be the, and when I say give him points, I'm not talking about give him the point blocks, but, you know, labels, just like you're seeing them here. So we'll keep the spots. We might keep these toe points as well. but just the elevations. We'll label the line as toe of slope. And we'll label this as potential center line, avoiding rocks, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And then all these others we're going to freeze off and get rid of. So what we want to do is the ones we want to keep. If you recall, we have a Carlson point, and when we select that, we see that it's made up of an actual point, a block that has a series of attributes, which are the point, number, elevation, and description, and then we have another block that is the symbol. So if we were to explode that, it's going to lose the values that are in those and just tell you what the attribute name is. It would say, you know, PTELEV2 or something, whatever it was defined as in the block. So we want to explode that in a way that lets us explode it, but keep the values. And that's called a block explode or explode. You see over here on the right-hand side vertically, I've got this one little thing. It's got a explode.
Yes.
So if we choose that and choose this one, for instance, like that.
Yeah.
It's going to, all right, so it said it found 3 entries. One was invalid. If you want to do this individually or globally, we'll just say globally. And now some of these options, you can put them on a particular layer, line type, etc. We're just going to type E to inherit from the parent block, or I mean for inherit from the parent block. Oh, crap. See. Still does that. All right, so that's not the command we want to use. I think we're going to get that up in Express Tools. Blocks, and then we're going to say explode attributes. I think that X block is to explode a block inside an XREF file. That might be what that one was. So now if I pick this, it now keeps these. And if you look at that, it's just a piece of text.
Yeah.
And that's a piece of text. All right, so we'll now take that piece of text, which we no longer want, and we'll delete it. Now let's do that for each of those points. So we're going to what's called burst. We're going to take this one and this one and this one and this one. And the other ones that we wanted to keep were all these spot shots that we had. Get this one. Anything else that we had that might indicate some good survey part? The rest of that stuff I wouldn't worry about. You've got contour lines and you've got the line work, so they can find all that out. And there's nothing really that we need to use for those. All right, so now we've done that. We now have text and symbols, which is what we want to be left with. Now we want to erase all of our points from the drawing. So at this point, we're going to, first of all, save our drawing, and we want to zoom out, let's see, these, we want to make those symbols a little smaller. It's their scale. 16. We actually, we need to burst those two, I realize, because they're points. So we're gonna, we don't have points down there. Do we need those points to be indicators, or do you just want the line work?
Just the line work, I think.
Because he doesn't really need those, does he? Or
does not.
what do you think,
He doesn't.
Mike?
He does not. Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Yeah, does he need these corner points on the property lines?
No.
All right, so we can get rid of those, so we're not gonna need to burst those or anything, so. We have turned our points into the things we're going to deliver as text and little tick marks. So we're gonna, what we're gonna do is get rid of all the points in the drawing, then all of the layers that we have that we don't need in the drawing. So we're gonna do one thing here is we're going to go to our layer manager, and we're going to do what's called a layer state. If I can find the, yeah, right here, this layer states manager.
Yeah.
And we're going to select that, and we're going to make a new layer state, and it's basically going to be, let's just call it, current working. And that's going to be the layer, the state of all the layers, whether they're frozen, thawed, or whatever. And then we'll save that. And it's going to save all of those. All right, there we go. And we'll say close. Now, the reason I'm setting that layer state up is because now I'm going to thaw all the layers in the drawing, and we're going to play around with some things. So I'm going to thaw / on all layers. And so now there's a bunch of stuff that's on there.
Yeah.
Now, we know we don't need these boundaries drawn anymore. So we're going to erase by layer. I'm going to hit this clear button and then select from screen. I'm going to pick that one that will also get rid of this one. And he doesn't need any of this. And he doesn't need any of those. And I think that will probably, and it depends on whether we're going to get them all here or not in the first shot. We'll see. I think that's it for now. We'll say, okay, so now we've erased all those. Now we still have these out here. So if we repeat that.
Well, the boundary lines disappeared. He's going to need those.
Oh, yeah. We do need that. Sorry. Let's undo. Yeah, so yeah, let's not do that all right, so let's only do this layer erase. Let's say, let's just get this for starters now. We also can do the 3D break lines.
Panels.
The what?
Topo panels from the GIS.
Oh yeah, sorry. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. And now we can just get rid of all of this. just as an entity, as a delete. Zoom extents, that's there. Now let's erase all the points. So if you go to, I'll let you drive there, go to your points menu and choose erase points. And you want to take them, it doesn't matter, screen or number, either one. Just say by screen, just S. And which ones to select, just type ALL. Hit enter and hit enter one more time. Now, do you want to delete them from the coordinate file? No, you do not. And that is its default. So go ahead in for no. Delete the symbols, attributes, or both. We want to get rid of both. And erase both types or only field to finish or other, both types. So B, erase associated line work, no. Because if you've drawn lines from the points, you want to leave them there. All right. Now what? There, okay, our road is still there. That's, I thought the road went away. It didn't. It's still showing there as the edge of the pavement. And that is basically that. So what you would do next is I would take these pieces of text. Let me see, is this all on? No, it's point number. It's not on a separate one because we want to, actually, we could get rid of all the point numbers. Let me clear that and select this from the screen, and that is the point number. So all the point numbers are going away. And then I would take these last little descriptions that you don't really need because you're going to label that line as toe of slope. And we'll just kill those. And you can decide that's 416.05, 416.45. Maybe we don't need this one. It's just sort of cluttering things up. So now we've got everything along the toe is identified. You've got some spot shots out here. You're going to label this line.
You know, I just thought of something else he's gonna need too. He's gonna need the easement limits of this road right of way, which is gonna be 15 feet either side of this red line.
Okay.
I do that with an offset.
You surely may. Now let me look at it and see. So you've got a little bend point in it here. So we're going to need to make sure we don't just go from this corner all the way up to this corner. We're going to make sure we get that from this whole thing. So quickest way to do that, I would think, would be to go ahead and offset the entire band. Oh, wait a minute. Where is? Oh, there it is. Okay. So let's offset that entire boundary 15 feet.
Okay, well, I should put it on the road, some other layer, probably. I think I called it highway right of way.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's red and continuous right now. If you want to change that.
Well, probably should be continuous, don't you think, or no?
I don't know, either that or dashed, or
What color do you think?
I would give it that color. Yeah, that's going to be visible.
Okay, then like what, a dashed line?
Yeah, I would just go to dashed.
-2.
Let's try dashed at first.
That one, the one below it.
Well, the dash with a D. There you go. And then that way we're going to have a little bigger pattern. I just don't want it to be confused with it won't be a contour line. It'll be obvious. So
And
all
then
right.
edit,
Yeah,
offset.
offset to layer.
Ah, okay.
There you go. And so you offset to layer, and you already got highway right away. That looks good. And the offset amount, and you'll say, yes, both sides. Well, even for open, but you're going to set that to be 15. Say, okay. And now you're going to select that boundary line, and it may ask you for the side because it might be closed. I'm not sure. So now it says side to offset. So click over to the left in space somewhere, right? Just in there. Yep. All right. So there's the one. And now you're going to do it again and go to the inside. And then we're going to get rid of those extra segments that we don't need. Yeah, just anywhere. No, you don't have to snap to anything, just anywhere. Okay, now hit enter to finish the command. And we're going to get rid of the, yep, exactly right. You would break the segments off that one and that one, and then go up to the other end and get those two that come back. And now hit enter. And now go around to the
extension.
We'll go around to the back side of the property because you still got some back there too. Yeah. And so just erase those, just select them and hit delete. Yeah, see it goes all the way around. Yeah, there you go. And then do the same thing down there at the bottom. Yeah, and those will be, and you can get them, yeah, okay. I'm gonna say you can select them all first and hit delete all at once, but that works just as well. So now you've got those two lines out there on either side of that center line. And
wait a minute. Oh, okay, there it is.
Yeah, and so now you're going to want to
Extend.
Yeah, so you're going to extend that a little further. And you can just, that this command up here at the extend by distance.
Oh,
So if
no,
you choose that, yeah, and you choose that. Now there's all kinds of these options you can do. If you just come down here and just pick a point somewhere down there, it's going to just kick it out there. And it just ends it right here, just arbitrarily where we ended it. And it's sort of opposite this one. So that one's in good shape. Now I'm gonna let you do this one, do that extend by distance, which is up here on the polyline toolbar, the far left one right there, extend by distance. I'll let you grab it. Okay, and you pick, and whichever end you pick nearest is going to be where it's going to go. Now, wherever you show it is going to be how far it's going to go. So you want to sort of eyeball to where your opposite side is going to match.
I'm not seeing the opposite side.
It's right it's right between these two.
I see it.
Yeah. So right in there. That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Now hit enter to finish. Now that's done. Now you've got these, and they're sort of, I think the gap's a little bit too big. So let's go back and redefine that layer. And we want to also beef up the weight of that, I think, a little bit. So that was your highway right of way. Let's change that from dashed to dashed 2, which is just below it. Say okay. And you want to change its weight to be a little thicker, maybe 0.35 or something that's visibly going to be a little heavier.
Point what?
0.35. You see how it's, yeah, right there. And now close that off, and that should be a little more visible. There you go. And then you can, dimension that and label it as a, the way you always do your easements and such, you know how to label those.
Right.
And then I would, come down here. If you're going to label this as toe of slope, you can do, there's a command to draw text, and it should be on polyline. And at that point, you want to call that just toe of slope. And the size is okay for 0.08. Offset, let's offset it at just a 0.1. and use the current drawing properties. Now we're gonna set that on the Topo. And slide text on screen on the line, above the line, we'll say above the line. Say okay, and then just pick this point, and there it is, and we decide where we want it to be. You see how it's wrapping?
Yeah,
And when it hits the bend point, that's going to be how it bends around that. Okay.
okay,
So now if you go to edit that text, it's not really text. You see it's a block
yeah,
here. So, and I think if you double click it, if you needed to edit it, you can't really do it. It's,
if I do it over,
yeah, if you wanted to change the text or reposition it, you would just erase it and do it again.
I could call this possible rock-free center line.
Yep. And however you wanted to, yeah, possible, I would call it possible alignment. Or potential alignment, anything like that.
And put parenthetically rock-free.
I would do it that way. That's perfect. There you go.
Drawing units are all good.
Yep, that's all good. And then you'd say, okay. And then you just pick that center line. And then as you move that and try to not snap to it, just move the cursor up into space a little bit to get off. There you go. Now slide it. If you slide it, say to the left, and I just want you to see how it wraps. It could keep going to the left a little more, a little further. Keep going. See how it wraps? So
Yeah.
it'll actually go follow that path if you do it like that.
Okay, what do you think?
It looks good to me. So possible centerline alignment, rock free, well, now you got this one sort of, you got this one a little bit in the way. I would just maybe move him. Yeah, you got a little bit of a kink right in there.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Okay,
Toe slow, possible center line, rock free. You got your spots. Everything looks good there. You would label your thing there. Now, if I had, remember we did that layer state manager, we called it current working.
yeah,
We could go back and reestablish that, but we don't need to. We thawed everything in the drawing and we got rid of the stuff that we didn't need.
yeah,
So there's no real need to reestablish that. The layers that are out here are good to go with this. So the next thing we want to do is, first of all, let's save what we got, and then we're going to do a purge. So we get rid of all of those blocks and things that are defined but not used, like your stamp, and you might want to put a north arrow on at some point too, and a bar scale, just for his reference later. And you can add that in a minute, but let's do a purge and get rid of all of the things that we don't need.
as file.
Yep. And it is a drawing utility. And it's all the way at the bottom. Okay, and now we could say just everything, but you might want to keep your line types. So I would look at, first of all, check on to purge nested items. And then purge the automatically purge orphaned data. And now instead of saying purge all, let's go up here and click first on blocks. to, not the plus, just no, close that back up. Just click the word block and hit purge. And then hit dimension styles. So, and you may be able to, let's see if we can do this and layers. Can we get more than one? No, we're gonna have to do them one at a time. So hit that and hit purge. Layers, purge. Materials are okay to leave, and none of that's line, but print styles, registered applications, shapes, table styles, and text styles, those are all good. I would say close at this point. Now let's look at our layers. And you see we're down to just the layers that are in the drawing. And if we look at our line types, we kept all our line types, but if we look at our blocks, we've gotten rid of everything except the ones that we're using. We still have some defined layer styles. And if we got all these groups, we might want to purge them. Yeah, it won't hurt them to leave them in there. It's not a big deal. It's just the way they've grouped some things. Now, here's your external references. You want to make sure you get rid of all of those. So select all three of those and hit, there you go. Perfect. And you want to, now first you want to change that to delete record and all entities that reference. There you go. Say apply. Okay, and close that. Now you got a nice clean drawing. You still got some line styles. If you needed to do any further embellishment, you could. You've got your easement or right of way, rather. You've got the edge of pavement. You might label that as edge of pavement, or there's a particular line style that I've seen a lot in to indicate edges of pavement, more than just this, and it's this one. If I go down here to my line types, and if I change my polyline line type, there's a pavement indicator, a pavement edge indicator, and it's let's see if I see it just by the picture of it. It's basically three little hashes at an angle. This right up here, it's called slope 4, but that's what I've seen for pavement indicators. Oops, sorry. So we're going to go, we have to set our scaling up first. So we're going to do no extra dashes, our spacing scalar. So this is how far apart.
Let me ask you this, is that something I should hatch?
Actually, that would not be a bad idea. You could do it that way. Yeah, let's do that instead. And we'll hatch the pavement. So we're going to want to isolate the edge of pavement lines. So we're going to go to isolate layer. Select this and the other one. There you go. And now we need to close them off. Or cancel that for a second. There's a quicker way. Just say pick instead of select. And then pick that. There you go. There you go. Now we say okay. Now just draw a line that crosses it. You don't even have to worry about hitting the endpoints, but that'll be fine. There you go. And then conclude that and put one that crosses down near the bottom. Like that. Perfect. Now, when you go to hatch this, we're going to pick a point in the middle, let it hatch, and then we'll erase those two cross lines. So let's hatch. Let's change that to a solid. And it should be all the way up. There you go. And I would leave its color at, say, 253, which is the, no, one more to the right. There you go. And what do we want to do? First of all, down below there, you want to see the draw order. It says send behind boundary. Pull it down and just say send to back. Okay, and we don't need to make it transparent because it's going to be in the back. And we're going to pick an internal point. Now zoom out a little bit so you can see the other edge. There you go. Because if it can't see it on the screen, it doesn't find it. That's just, yeah, that's an AutoCAD thing. All right, so pick, that's fine. So you hit enter to finish. Hit OK. Now select your two cross lines and delete them. And now restore your layers. There you go. And then, you might throw a little, I don't know. Yeah, do you need to say EOP or anything like that anywhere? I don't know. I think that's pretty clear that that's the pavement.
Let me go ahead and do the road while we're here, label it.
Okay.
Let me just do a save. Let me go out here and find out what the road name is. Okay, it's Turner Road.
I really like the fact that you've been able to, to identify and use those resources, like those maps and stuff. I really like the way you know how to go right to it and get what you need. That's really good.
I think I should do this with text online, polyline again.
I would just do either standard or a multi-line and then rotate it in place. And now you can pick, you can do a nearest pick onto the edge of pavement, and then when it asks you for a rotation angle, go up to the next one. So grab your nearest choice out of your snapping, which is all the way to the left. Right. Click one edge.
I think I should do edge of pavement rather than the easement limit.
Oh, well, either one, because one's parallel to the property line. So that's fine. All right, so now it wants to know the height of your text, and that's fine. 4 feet is fine because that's well, wait a minute. 4 feet would be 0.08 at 50 scale. So we want it a little bit bigger. So let's maybe make it 6 feet. Okay, and now the rotation angle, you're going to pick a point again. You want to snap to the nearest of that. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. And now,
Oh,
what happened?
I don't know.
All right, try it again. Just hit enter or yeah, either way. And one thing too, let's set the style well, okay, that's all right, we can change it later. So there's that. And we'll take the height of 6. Now it wants to know the rotation. Now I think you need to get nearest, and you need to pick 2 points again, I think, even though you've given it a starting point. So you're going to snap near to that. And now
Do nearest again.
no, it's asking you to type text. So go ahead and type the Turner Road. And then it should line itself up if it read it correctly. Hit enter.
30-foot easement.
Oh, okay.
Oops.
One more try. There you go. And then hit enter. And enter one more time. There you go. Now you can move it around, offset it a little bit and change the style of it. And because it's right now set to that, the same thing we labeled the toe of slope and all that width. So let's change it.
Highway.
Well, no, you're in the layer pull down now. Oh yeah, you still want to, yeah, that's right. You still want to put it on that layer. And now change your style from highway. Let's make that standard. Keep coming, keep
Print
coming.
style.
No. Keep coming down to the block below where it says text. There you go, there, right there. Click that and choose standard. Or, you know, anything. There you go. And now you can move it and offset it a little bit if you want. Or you can just select it and do a grip move, either way. Just select it and then grab its grip and then just, there you go. Now just grab the grip and just move it off yeah, like that. There you go. And now see how that lines up. And if you need to move it, you can. Well, I think that's probably good.
Okay, so
Now, one thing I do notice here too, though, we have our hatching of our road is the same color as our, as say this contour line that crosses. See, I can't see it because it's the same color. I see the index ones, I think,
yeah, I see.
or not the index ones. I see the intermediates, but I don't see the index ones because they're not crossing. I mean, they're crossing, but they're the same color. So we're going to want to change this a little bit. So let's select our hatch, or just double click it even. And you see where it, over here where it says transparency in the middle column down to the bottom. And and it says use current. If you pull that down, yeah, see, you say use current is fine, but there's a slider underneath it. So go ahead and use current. And now right here, this slider, drag it to the right to make it like 50%. Yeah, somewhere there, it's fine. Say okay. And now that's going to let that show through. Now, other thing I want to do too is I want to change the line weights of these contours. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's make the line weights on the contour lines sort of relative to each other, but lighter than most of the other ones in the drawing. So let's go back to our layer definition. And let's go up in the top where it had that asterisk. Okay, never mind. We don't need to filter it. So we've got the VSurf contour index and contour intermediate. So that particular one for the index ones, that's instead of default, let's pull that down and let's choose like 0.15. So that's going to be smaller than the default, but let's also go to the intermediate 2 layers down. That one. And you're going to make that one 0.05. And hit OK. And now close that off. And now it's hard to see it here, but if you were to print this into a PDF, those would be a little bit thicker than these. They're slightly different color, different line pattern, but they're also smaller than the other lines in the drawing. So that's going to make a nice contrast if it gets printed. Now he's not even, nobody's probably ever going to print this. So he's got something to do his design from at this point. So, but we're in good shape with it. Now,
Another save.
Yeah.
I save a lot because I worry about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now you've got, you notice here this 430 reads this direction and this one reads that direction. That's due to that, because this is enough
Let me
vertically.
save this first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There, okay.
Okay. So this particular piece of text here is orient, and that's correct. Really, it shouldn't be in this orientation unless this line were to swing in that direction a little differently. But sometimes if you ever get a situation where you got something like that you just want to, even though it's slightly that way, you still want it to match that. There's a command under surface under those contours, and it's just simply that you're going to flip the label, and you're going to do that, and it just turns it so it's oriented that same direction.
Okay.
All right. So little things like that, that's your cosmetics. Everything looks good. What do we have? Oh, you know what we did? When we made this hatch, you remember we drew the cross lines and then we erased the cross lines, but I look here and I still see the line. And that's because in this hatch, if I were to edit the hatch, we had it set to retain the boundaries as a polyline.
Okay.
So what we're going to do there is just simply select that polyline and delete it. And now it's just going to be the shading is just going to wind up ending. Okay. It looks good.
And we do another save. So I'm ready to email this to him now.
I would think so.
Okay.
And along with, is there anything else? I don't think. I think, you just double check your contract, make sure you've done everything. I mean, you'll do that anyway. Zoom in where you see a bunch of crowded stuff, like maybe this road name. See where those contours are sort of jammed in there?
Yeah.
You might, let's see, we put it down here. No, not really. Let me turn this off so I'm not, let's see if we pull this off. Yeah, that gets it off of that little crowded bump in there. I think that's a little better. Still keeps it up. You could move it up here. I like it on the outside instead of the inside because that's really where his work's going to go. So I think that would be good like that. All right. And as you know, especially with me, this job, these jobs are never done. You can always tweak, but I think you tweaked enough. Go get paid. So.
Okay, so I just email him the DWG and I'm good.
I would think so.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You are most welcome. I will again send you the video link. You got the link from the other night, right? From yesterday, I mean.
Yeah, and send me a bill. I have some money in the bank now. I want to catch up with you.
Okay, I'll do that. I was waiting until we finished up today, and I think we'll have a good spot. I've got a little bit of a backlog, nothing huge, I don't think. So we'll do that. All right, I will stop our recording now, end our session, and I will talk to you next time.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You are most welcome.